Bang! Ready for some raw truth. Our Rookie of the Year is out against Mounds. So now what? Are we really putting our season in the hands of a backup vet to save us from the edge of the cliff? But that's not all. The secondary is on fire, and not in a good way. Why is our star cornerback, the big-name addition, drowning in yellow flags? Is it him or the system? Don't worry, though. We've already got his replacement lined up. And wait for it, the guys we cut, they're balling out on other teams. Did we blow it, or is there something deeper going on? This is bigger than football. This is the future of the franchise. If you love the Commanders, stick around. I swear what I'm about to break down will change how you see every decision. Smash that like button and subscribe right now. The fight for the season starts here. Multiple reports confirmed this Wednesday what we were all dreading. Jayden Daniels will not play on Monday night against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And let me ask you something. Seriously, right now, when we're desperate for a win to stay alive in the NFC East, Daniels pulled his hamstring in the third quarter of that Sunday beatdown against the Cowboys. That 44-22 loss that still stings. And here's what really has me worried. This isn't the first time our Rookie of the Year has missed games this season. He already sat out to games with a knee sprain from week 2 against Green Bay. Now let me say this, when a 24-year-old quarterback, in just their second year in the league, has already missed 3 games with different injuries, shouldn't we be asking serious questions about workload management? About conditioning? About whether we're actually protecting this player the way we should? Because look at the numbers Daniels was putting up before going down. 1,031 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, just 1 pick. 211 rushing yards and a rushing score. That's elite production. That's a player who should be leading us to the playoffs. Not watching from the sideline with an ice pack on their leg, and now it's Marcus Mariota time. The 31-year-old vet is set to make their third start under center for the Commanders. And look, I respect Mariota. Seriously, they're a pro. They know the league. They've been in pressure situations. But let's be real, 426 yards, 3 touchdowns, and TWO picks this season, including a pick 6 after stepping in for Daniels on Sunday. Do you honestly believe Mariota can walk into Arrowhead, face the best pass defense in the AFC, and outduel Patrick Mahomes in prime time? Because I'm telling you right now, if we think we're winning that game without Jayden Daniels, we're living in a fantasy world. But here's what really has me sweating, and listen close, because this is critical. We're sitting at 3-4. 3 wins, 4 losses. We're no longer that surprise team from the start of the season. We're under 500, and the schedule is about to get brutal. After Kansas City, we've got the Giants at home, sure, but then it's Pittsburgh, Philly, Dallas again, Tennessee, New Orleans, Philly again, and Atlanta. That's a gauntlet, folks. That stretch right there could decide whether we're playoff bound or watching from the couch. So let me ask you, can the Commanders afford to lose to the Chiefs without Daniels, and then hope he comes back at 100% for the rest of that nightmare stretch? Or are we watching the beginning of the end of our playoff hopes? Because here's the thing about hamstring injuries, they're sneaky. They're not like a hard hit where you bounce back in a week. Hamstrings linger. They limit you. And if you try to come back too soon, BAM setback, and you're out even longer. Dan Quinn's got some tough calls to make. Does he rush Daniels back for the Giants in Week 9? Or does he hold him out one more week to make sure he's fully healthy for that brutal run of divisional games? Meanwhile, Mariota's got to prove they can at least keep this ship afloat. Because if we lose to Kansas City and then stumble against the Giants at home, suddenly we're 3-6 and basically out of the playoff picture before Thanksgiving. Do you trust this team to survive without its star quarterback? Do you believe the defense can step up and cover for the offensive drop-off we're gonna have with Mariota? Because I'm telling you, we're gonna need a lot more than what we've seen lately if we want even a shot. If that wasn't enough, wait till you hear this, because what's coming next is even more concerning for the immediate future of this defense. Adam Peters made one of the boldest moves of last year when he traded for LATTIMORE from the Saints. We all thought, finally, we've got an elite cornerback. A guy who's been all-pro, who's locked down the best receivers in the league for years. But let me ask you, what the hell is going on back there? Because here's what's really happening in that secondary. LATTIMORE, Trey Amos, and Mike Sainristil were hyped up as the backbone of this defense. They were supposed to be the wall that shut down the CD Lambs, the A.J. Browns, the Terry McLaurins of the world. And you know what? They've been anything but. The penalties are killing us. LATTIMORE's been flagged for pass interference and holding over and over. Amos and Sainer haven't been immune either. Every time it looks like we've made a big defensive stop. Bam! Yellow flag. Pass interference. Automatic first down. And here's what's got me really frustrated. While our current corners are struggling, guess who's having solid seasons? Emmanuel Forbes Jr. with the Rams, Benjamin St-Juste with the Chargers, Q Blue Kelly with the Raiders. Nick Whiteside just had a monster game for the Lions on Monday night. 3 pass breakups against Baker Mayfield. Now let me say this, those guys were labeled busts here in Washington. We dumped them, told them they weren't good enough to wear Burgundy and Gold. And now they're out there proving they can play in this league. But here's the part nitrogen monoxide one is talking about. St-Juste is only on the field for a third of the Chargers' defensive snaps. Forbes is a situational player with the Rams. Kelly's playing more. Sure, but for a Raiders team that's 2-5. Whiteside's only active because Detroit's got like 5 injured corners. Our 3 starting corners are out there almost every snap. They're facing top-tier receivers. Every play, no breaks. That's a massive difference, and when you look at the real stats, the ones that matter, our guys are actually better in key metrics. They're allowing fewer completions. None of them are giving up a passer rating over 100 when targeted. Forbes and Kelly, way over that mark. That means opposing quarterbacks are having a lot more success throwing at those guys than at ours. Yards per target, probably the best individual stat for a corner, also heavily favors our trio. And they're doing it without a strong pass rush. Something both Forbes and St-Juste benefit from on their new teams. So why does it feel like we're worse? Penalties, folks. Those damn penalties. In a twist that'll shock any Commanders fan, Forbes hasn't been flagged ONCE this season. St-Juste, who used to get flagged every game here, has only been penalized on special teams. And here comes the bombshell. Jack McKessie from USA Today is urging the Commanders to explore a trade for Michael Carter from the Jets. The idea: move Sainer back outside, where he played better late last season, and basically bench LATTIMORE. Can you believe that? Less than a year after trading real assets for LATTIMORE, analysts are saying we should pull him from the starting lineup. That's devastating for a player of his caliber and salary. So I ask you, is LATTIMORE really the problem? Or is it the scheme? Is it the lack of pass rush forcing corners to cover for 5, 6, 7 seconds every play? Is it the communication breakdowns in the secondary? John Keim from ESPN says the Commanders have no plans to bench LATTIMORE. They still believe he can be a major asset, but his play says otherwise. And that puts us in a terrible spot. Because if we're making another move, and that's debatable given what we've already spent, shouldn't it be for an edge rusher instead of another corner? Isn't that the real need? Look at what the Cowboys did Sunday. Dak Prescott had all day to throw. CeeDee Lamb was running 8-second routes because we couldn't get to Dak. That's the real issue. You can have the best secondary in the world, but if the quarterback has forever to throw, someone's getting open. And here's what keeps me up at night. LATTIMORE's got 1 more year on his deal. After 2025. If he doesn't improve, if he keeps being a liability with flags, what do we do? Cut him and eat the dead money. Try to trade a 32-year-old corner with a huge salary and average play. This whole defense needs to step up. Communication has to improve. Tackling has to improve. Pass rush has to. Well, you get it. And those penalties have to stop. But here's my hope. Amos and Sainer are young. They're gonna get better with experience. And honestly, LATTIMORE's play has been trending up lately, even if the flags are still a problem. Should we panic and make another trade? I don't think so. I think we need to give this secondary time to build chemistry. But if we're still seeing the same issues after the bye week, then yeah, Adam Peters better be working the phones. Do you believe LATTIMORE can get back to all-pro form? Or do you think that ship has sailed and we need to admit the trade was a mistake? The trade was a mistake. And just when you thought we were done, let me hit you with something that's gonna make a lot of you question every personnel decision we've made in recent years. Nick Whiteside, Emmanuel Forbes Jr., Benjamin St-Juste, Q Blue Kelly, what do they all have in common? They were all labeled not good enough for the Washington Commanders. And now they're out there proving they can play in this league. But before you flood my inbox with angry messages about how this organization is a mess, let me tell you a story. A few years ago, someone who knew way more about the inner workings of this team than I ever will taught me a lesson I've never forgotten. I was ranting about Lorenzo Alexander. Remember him? Special teams guy we let walk in free agency, who went on to become a Pro Bowl linebacker with the Bills. I was convinced we made a massive mistake, and this person kindly explained that I didn't know what I was talking about. Alexander left for a bunch of reasons, including shady ownership decisions that led to a league penalty. But more importantly, he was never going to become a star linebacker in Washington. He didn't fit the team's needs at the time, and with young talent like Ryan Kerrigan and Preston Smith, who, by the way, is BACK on the roster, Washington had better options. And that lesson fits perfectly with what we're seeing now. Yeah, Whiteside had a great game Monday, 3 pass breakups against Tampa Bay, most on his team. But here's the context nitrogen monoxide 1 mentions. He's only on Detroit's roster because of injuries. He only played against the Bucs because of NEW health issues. Forbes is having a solid year with the Rams, but he's a situational player. St. Justy is bouncing back with the Chargers, but only plays a third of the defensive snaps. Kelly's playing more with the Raiders. Sure, but that team is 2-5 with one of the worst defenses in the league. So let me ask you, would you rather have Forbes playing 20 snaps a game for a mediocre team, or Sainer Steele playing 60 snaps a game for a team fighting for the playoffs? Because here's the truth, cornerback is a position where context is everything. A player can look great in one system and awful in another. They can thrive in a limited role and struggle as the number 1 guy, and if you care about pro football, focus grades, and I know that's controversial, the ex-Commanders are grading out better on paper. St. Justy ranks higher than Amos. Forbes grades better than Sainer Steele. Kelly's numbers are better than Lattimore's. But here's what those numbers don't tell you. Our corners play way more. They're on the field almost all the time. They're facing the league's best receivers, play after play, without the luxury of being subbed out in tough spots. In the most critical metrics, Washington's defenders are significantly better. They allow fewer completions. None of them are giving up a passer rating over 100. Forbes and Kelly, way over that mark. That means quarterbacks are having a lot more success throwing at them. And maybe the best individual stat for corners, yards per target, also heavily favors the Commanders trio. And they're doing it without a strong pass rush, something Forbes and St. Justy benefit from. Now, the Commanders are struggling in one key area, penalties. Lattimore's been flagged mostly for pass interference and holding. Amos and Sainer Steele haven't been spotless either. But here's the crazy part, Forbes hasn't been flagged ONCE this season. St. Justy, who used to get flagged constantly here, has only been penalized on special teams. Is that because they're better players now? Or is it because they're in smaller roles where they're not under constant pressure? I think it's the latter, because here's the thing about player development, context is everything. A player who struggles as a starter might thrive as a backup. A corner who's bad in man coverage might be great in zone. A guy who doesn't fit one scheme might be perfect in another. And here's what really excites me about our current corners. They're young. Amos and Sainer Steele are going to get better with experience. They'll make fewer mental mistakes. They'll build better chemistry with the safeties. They'll learn how to play within the system without drawing so many flags. Even Lattimore, while he may never be elite again, his play has been improving in recent weeks. The penalties are still an issue, yeah, but he's making more positive plays than negative ones. Washington's secondary, and the whole defense, clearly needs to improve. Communication has to be better. Tackling has to be better. Pass rush has to. Well, you know. And those penalties have to stop. But there's no reason right now to assume young guys like Amos and Sainer Steele won't improve with time. And honestly, I'd rather have corners who are out there every snap, learning, growing, making mistakes, but also making plays, than guys who look good in limited roles on other teams. Should we feel buyer's remorse just because former players are flashing elsewhere? I say nitrogen monoxide, because those players wouldn't be having that success if they were still here. With the roles and responsibilities they'd have in our scheme, Lorenzo Alexander wouldn't have become a Pro Bowl linebacker in Washington, because that wasn't the need. Same way, Forbes wouldn't be better here than Sainer Steele. St. Justy wouldn't be better than Amos. And Kelly definitely wouldn't be better than Lattimore, issues and all. Would you rather have our current corners, with all their upside, or swap them for ex-players having decent seasons and limited roles elsewhere? So let's recap. Daniels is hurt, Lattimore is struggling, and former players are shining. 3 storylines painting a complicated picture for the Commanders at this crucial point in the season. But here's what I believe. This team has too much talent to fold. Daniels will be back. The secondary will improve. And yeah, maybe some of those ex-players are doing well elsewhere, but that doesn't mean we were wrong to let them go now. I want to hear from you. Can the Commanders survive this brutal stretch and still make noise in the playoff race? Or are we watching the beginning of the end of another promising season? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you trust Mariota to keep us afloat? Do you believe LATTIMORE can return to all-pro form? Do you regret letting those players walk? And if this video gave you a new perspective on what's happening with our team, if you learned something you didn't know before, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Because I promise you, tomorrow we've got more explosive Commanders news coming. And you do not want to miss the deepest, most passionate Burgundy and Gold breakdowns on all of YouTube. We're a family here. A community of fans who bleed Burgundy and Gold no matter what. And I need you to be part of this. I need you here every day to debate, discuss, and celebrate everything about our team. So hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and get ready, because this season is far from over, and we're gonna be here for every snap, every decision, every moment until the end.